Well, you know, it is not every day in the desert Southwest that we tell you to brace yourself for bad weather from a tropical storm, but that is what we're moving forward with.
Yes, the remnants of one-time hurricane, now tropical storm Odile, are bringing more and more rain to New Mexico. As meteorologist John Smith has been predicting all week, what is left of Odile is now hitting the Southwest. The tropical storm is moving north from Mexico after hitting the Baja Peninsula as a very strong hurricane. It's causing heavy rains, and that's causing flooding in Phoenix and other parts of Arizona. You can take a look at some of that right here. And it's tracking to bring as much as 5 inches of rain to southern New Mexico tomorrow, so be on the lookout for flash flooding. And here in Albuquerque, we could get as much as an inch of rain. The storm is moving in more than a month after heavy rain pounded and flooded parts of the city, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage. The hectic scene last month here, it's hard to forget it, left the city of Albuquerque with a lot to clean up, fixing areas where manhole covers popped off and even pulled up pavement. And the city has been adding signs at this central underpass near First Street to warn drivers not to drive down there when it's flooded. The city also says it has a consultant looking at its 14 underground pump stations to see how they can work better in the future.
We know that the systems down here probably need to be reworked. I mean, it's huge capital monies that are involved in it.
For the rain we could get this week, the city says 2 extra workers were on standby overnight, and it may have even more on standby tonight. Liz?
All right, also topping our news this morning, the soccer coach accused of drinking and smoking pot before hitting and killing a bicyclist says it was not his fault. His attorney tried to convince a judge of that yesterday in court.
This is a bicyclist riding the wrong way at dusk with no lights on, who my client hit accidentally. This is an accident, not a vehicular homicide case.
UNM student and assistant Albuquerque Academy soccer coach Corey Lucero faced a judge for the first time Tuesday. Police say he hit 25-year-old Jose Ruiz with his vehicle, then left him to die when Lucero drove off. It happened on Highway 528 in the Coors bypass Saturday night. In court, Lucero's attorney told the judge that the victim was riding against traffic, which is against the law. He claims his client could not see Ruiz, so it should be ruled an accident. But witnesses tell cops both were heading south, that they could see the victim riding his bike and could see that Lucero was swerving. Police say tests show Lucero had been drinking and was high on marijuana that night.
It's not an accident. He killed somebody. Somebody lost their life. How can they don't want nothing to happen to him? Like, he killed somebody.
Lucero is facing a vehicular homicide charge and is on unpaid leave from Albuquerque Academy. A former APD sergeant will finally go on trial for a crash that killed a young woman and badly injured her sister more than a year ago. Adam Casaus' lawyer told the judge yesterday they are now ready to make their case in the deadly 2013 crash. Casaus was off duty when he ran a red light at Paseo and Eagle Ranch. He hit a car carrying Ashley Browder and her sister Lindsay. Ashley died. Lindsay was critically injured. Casaus claims that he was chasing a suspected drunk driver, but there is no record Casaus ever notified dispatch about pursuing the vehicle. Witnesses also reported he did not have his lights or sirens on. Casaus was later fired from APD. He is charged with vehicular homicide. The judge set the trial for Monday, which is expected to last all week. News 13 will be there. We will continue to follow this case until the verdict is read, and you can find expanded coverage on our website, krqe.com.
Well, nationally this morning, ISIS is warning the U.S. that it is ready for a fight. A new video released by the militant group says its fighters are ready if the president sends them. President Obama is meeting with top military commanders in Tampa, Florida today as they form a plan to defeat ISIS, the militant group in Iraq and Syria. While the president has promised American forces will not have a combat mission in Iraq, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Martin Dempsey, told a congressional committee Tuesday that the U.S. could need to use the ground troops in the future.
If we reach the point where I believe our advisors should accompany Iraq troops on attacks against specific ISIL targets, I'll recommend that to the president.
Destroying ISIL will require more than military efforts alone. It will require political progress in the region and effective partners on the ground in Iraq and Syria.
Well, today the U.S. House is expected to vote on the president's request for $500 million to train and equip moderate rebels in Syria. Over in the Senate, Secretary of State John Kerry will testify about the U.S. strategy to defeat ISIS. So far, about 40 countries have joined the fight, and retired Marine General John Allen is coordinating the national efforts. Well, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota, will now participate in a Justice Department pilot program designed to stop extremists from recruiting Americans to join their terrorist organizations overseas. Right now, investigators in Minnesota are trying to find out how a handful of people were recruited from there to travel to Syria and fight with these militants. At least one man died, and some families fear their daughters have even gone overseas to support the terrorists as well. The new program will focus on at-risk communities.
From this morning's Albuquerque Journal, Albuquerque may be getting a new civilian police oversight board with some actual power. According to the paper, tomorrow the city council will consider a Brad Winter Ray Garduno ordinance. It's to create a police oversight board that would have subpoena power for officers and witnesses. It could demand a response from the police chief if the board's recommendations are ignored. Last month, the council voted to suspend the previous Police Oversight Commission. This proposal is to fund the new board out of APD's budget for about $750,000 a year. Santa Fe is now the second New Mexico county asking the state's highest court to allow a non-binding advisory question over marijuana on the November general election ballot. Secretary of State Diana Duran decided last week that the state's law does not allow advisory questions on the ballot. Governor Susana Martinez weighed in, saying that such decriminalization attempts are, quote, a horrible, horrible idea. And as long as she's governor, she vows not to sign the bill. Meanwhile, in a voice vote on Capitol Hill last night, the U.S. House passed a bill that could make it harder for people on welfare to buy marijuana in states where the drug is legal. Supporters call it the No Welfare for Weed bill. It prevents people from using government-issued welfare checks to buy at stores that sell marijuana. They also can't use their cards to withdraw cash from ATMs at those stores. A 2012 federal law already prevents people from using welfare debit cards at liquor stores, casinos, and strip clubs.